뭐야? 다 가져서. 다 제대로 이 심순이 제대로 믿은 쇼방데 매당 가게 가당 토로 술래 원주 떡기니 준비 배신 배바차. 나디 매베도 마젤람 땜베도 가베도 토르베도 전에 다 디디 되네 무시 전시 술래봐 되네 좀제 원주도 없어 다 리슨 레군도 전에 이는 걸스요.
So from stanza 32, we read the explanation of the actual From stanza 32, we read Shantideva's presentation of the actual application of the forces that are conducive for arising of joyous effort. So he writes, uprooting its opposite in this way, one should strive to increase one's joyous effort with powers of aspiration, self-confidence, delight, letting go, dedication, and determination. So, this presents the 6 powers here. The 4 are more specific to the actual cultivation. So these are the power of aspiration, the power of confidence or stability, and power of joy, and then the power of letting go or equanimity. And then the actual practice involved the application of the mindfulness and the faculty of mindfulness and introspective awareness. So this is called the power of actual dedication. So this refers to the application of the mindfulness and introspective awareness. And then the final power refers to the result that one attains as a result of applying these powers. And this refers to the power of mastery.
다 tema 다다 신지 네번이 시선에만 매배 돕기야체.
So from stanza 34, when we read, where we read there, I do not see even a small fraction of a beginning of the elimination of faults and so on. Then the presentation of the cultivation of the power of aspiration is presented.
되네. 다 때문에 돕섬. 맞게 돕 시자티. 다들이다. 솔로 시구네.
And then from stanza 49, Shantideva presents the stages for cultivating and applying the power of confidence or stability.
라도 녀몬 누버티 수부달 마제차. 단딩 마제디 데르다 녀모병 마제디 매베체. 소소소다 이지시야. 네 토그리 네 누그리 삼베다 뽑아.
So we read in stanza 49, one should apply self-confidence to these 3 actions, secondary mental afflictions, and ability. I alone should do it, expresses self-confidence with regard to action. So this refers to cultivating a sense of pride, but this is not pride in the negative, afflicted sense of self-importance or conceitedness, but rather a pride in the sense of having a confidence in one's own ability that I can accomplish this, I can do this.
다음에 집을 자고시 니니 레디 마제니. 전에다 시안을 때마면 그런 가서 심기 학습 실전에 시안 동네를 자야 대화도 대버치야 돼. 다른 거 차, 말한 거 차. 전 소수 능력이다 쿠르라. 소수 지구다.
So here in this stanza, Shantideva refers to the phrase, I alone should do it, expresses self-confidence with regard to action. So, for example, when we generate bodhicitta, the awakening mind, in the course of that, we also need to generate the altruistic resolve that takes upon oneself the responsibility to bring about others' welfare. So with that, that's the kind of sense of responsibility that Shantideva is talking about here.
되네 녀몽배가 제스다디 녀몽발라 남야 제가 지금에 녀몽발 랑게 왕도 두기 인사시 랑니 녀몽바 랑게 파로 왕도야 마도 랑니 녀몽배 왕도 남야 민주와 차선
So then Shantideva explains the need to uphold a sense of pride in relation to one's afflictions. The first one was in relation to one's action. The second one is in relation to one's afflictions. And here, the primary kind of attitude that one needs to cultivate is that unlike in the past, when I allowed myself to be under the power of the afflictions, to be governed by these afflictions, from now on I shall ensure that I will control the afflictions, and I will govern, and I will dictate the course of these afflictions, and will not allow myself to be governed and dictated by these afflictions. So this is the kind of sense of pride one needs to cultivate in relation to the afflictions.
Pajeti shorogo ngoguti kangshin ngaje dalai genshi ngaje chang tene ngaje chang da namgila patini kangshin ngaje dado wanya tei chom de nge chom da kangshin ngaje dado wanya nge chom de dolo doshi gewen de zoshi.
So, for example, we read in stanza 59, this is on page 85, by the way. We read, there are self-confident and victorious heroes who bear their self-confidence in order to conquer the enemy, pride. Upon killing that growing enemy, pride, they demonstrate the fruit of their victory to the world as they please.
And the Dishamdi Saudwa Trustamati. Numu Choi turn and Nabaton to sense of the water socket sanction Numusoki Misusa. Nyama Cheta, Junju can mean so that the Shinyama Junju Numo Mindu Charles. And it's done, set the second Dagon, go Jagan Lay. Number Kundu Numo Betalan de Micho.
So then we read in stanza 60, for example, abiding amidst a multitude of afflictions, one should be vigorous in 1,000 ways and unconquerable by the hosts of afflictions, like a lion by a herd of deer. And then he writes, even in great troubles, the eye does not perceive flavor. Likewise, upon encountering difficulty, one should not be overcome by mental afflictions. And then in stanza 62, by the way, this particular stanza is missing in the English translation because it is from Sanskrit. So in the Tibetan text, we read another stanza which says that even if I were to be killed by being burned alive, or even if my head is severed off, at no times shall I bow my head to the enemy, that is the afflictions.
Adi ngaje asa nyumo ngaje sa da nyube ngaje sa kaso ne da tukri nyugri samachi nismendo ja tadine gawe doksa디 zeme denden deba da di jawe le kan ledlan shenshadi lede nyum gawarcha shesogi da gashi toshi 죽었지 di shamde 대대 내서 친지지 님의 치도 동거이 랑지 초대 손주다 라이트라야 죽었자 저수는 냠내셔야지 디치 랑신 끌을 팬들어야지 뭐 이두잖아요 레티 계저도 주변 내걸이야 지 이단 체에 삼으로 봐 가시 쪼신 챙을 마셔서로 마셔 쳐야지 가시 쪼신 당도 나는데 줘야지 가요도 없어지.
And then from stanza 63 onwards in Tibetan, but 62 in the English translation, Shantideva was explaining the practices of applying the power of joy. So he writes, one should diligently apply oneself to the action in which one engages. Intoxicated by that action, one should be of an insatiable mind, like one striving for the satisfaction of the result of a game. And then he goes on to write later in stanza 67, he says, 66, when he writes, and when one's strength begins to decline, one should quit so that one can re-engage later. Sorry, it's 65 in the English translation. Therefore, even upon the completion of an action, one should immerse oneself in it again, just as an elephant, scorched by the midday sun, immediately approaches a lake.
That is what they tolerate of it. Tomyambada gender, larger to tortures. Leverson, Chimon de Tepangchas. Senataya, another letter over, naming the Jason Jenny. You had ever looted this year, Shinjella, young for a chair. 심슈 되네야 류비야 마트야지 근데 이들산에 양양 수쳐버리지 수군 중간도 뛰니 저래 있을 송겨래
So,
수군 중간도 뛰니 야수자야지 당신의 육사분의 체 무튼이 약제 동약이 가서 그게 처신된 자 처실서를 위로 샤니 리싱야 수차 되이버리 대신도 레버스는 치마당스 다 약제 동약 된다래야 다 내가 예수적 양예수 예수의 상라 양 첫째 도스전이 가다 무튼이 약제를 해서 상담 거를 마도 척시체는 돼야지 말이지 자 니송이야래 치면 되게 대빵 차스
So in stanza 66, in the English translation, Shantideva explains the application of the power of equanimity or letting go. So he writes, and when one's strength begins to decline, one should quit so that one can re-engage later. When a task has been well completed, one should leave it with a desire for more and more. And the point being made here is that given our physical constitution as human beings, and particularly those on the beginner's stage, we need to recognize the limitations that our body imposes upon us. So as a result of constant application of joyous effort, if at some point one feels kind of exhausted or a lack of energy, then at that point, instead of kind of still pushing further or exerting, one needs to take a respite. However, that respite should not be taken simply to take a rest, but rather with a motivation to recharge oneself so that one can continue to pick up where one has left off and progress further. So this is the point Shantideva was making here. Therefore, he says that when a task has been well completed, one should leave it with a desire for more and more.
나한테는 무시 전시 술래봤어야지 텀니 다들 현실도 용을 약을 하고신 묘모 선의 술자신 묘모 다는 잡았다 뜻이야 전이다 야지 배로 샤샤나 지 퇴섬자 개침물에 있었는 퇴섬 찍고는 뭉 야지 예배 그만 걸리나 지금 하양 셔리나 뒤직직이야 말해 다야지 그게 다 검자로 찍고인데 개침물에 있었는데 타네 야 퇴섬자 하양 침배이나 야만 중에서 근데 이번 이두산에 나고 간다 술 땡기 막고 팔 다입니다 직조 되는 일에 그들이야 현장에 예배 그대로 되는 뭐 딱 곧하다네 그게 아니 투머스 초리스
So then in stanza 67 in the English translation, Shantideva presents the actual application of mindfulness and introspective awareness, which constitutes the power of dedication. So he writes, one should ward off the blows of afflictions and severely attack them as if engaged in a sword combat with a trained enemy. So the point being made here is that one needs to apply both mindfulness and introspective awareness most diligently so that one's practices does not become one-sided. And for example, if someone with a recognition that the study of Dharma is very important and places all his or her single-pointed focus on the study, but at the same time neglect the arising of other negative mental thoughts and also potentially negative non-virtuous actions and so on, that is also one-sided. On the other hand, if someone with a recognition of the importance of actual meditation practice then single-pointedly pursues that and neglects the need to expand one's understanding through study, again, one opens oneself to other faults. So in this way, it is important to ensure that one's application of mindfulness and introspective awareness is constant so that one's approach to Dharma is really well-rounded.
rom을 붙이고 소는 시 nga 투두서는 상공도 nga 섬두서는 퇴공도 nga 꿈두서는 퇴섬도 nga 가담 청처럼 멀어
Here, what the Kadamba master Dromtonpa has said is very true when he says that when I'm engaged in learning, I bring to bear upon it critical reflection and meditation practice. And when I'm engaged in critical reflection, I bring to bear upon it learning and meditation practice. And when I engage in meditation practice, I bring to bear upon it learning and critical reflection. Therefore, my approach to study critical reflection and meditation practice is integrated.
다전에 예, 가서 왕주의 또 왕도 잘 또스. 나디 딘다. 두주통아. 진의 레징어네 탐자는 두유. 저들 봐요. 땀전디 너니 당와양 차. 나 겨울 걸었어. 요즘 내로도 쳐네. 지도로는 저와도 원은 신배 왕교가 대신 저의 왕교대 대단한 조거죠. 주주스도 저발로 저거래. 수주도 시절도 뭐
So then, in the last two stanzas of the chapter, Shantideva explains the power of mastery, which is the fruit of the application of joyous effort, and he writes the following: bringing to mind the teaching on heedfulness, one should arouse oneself so that one is always prepared before encountering a task. Just as cotton is swayed in the direction of the winds coming and going, so should one surrender oneself to one's enthusiasm, and in this way, one's supernormal powers will thrive.
Oh yeah. That's the rule, because something new.
So with that, the reading of the chapter on joyous effort is completed, and next is the chapter on meditation or concentration.
대저 준주 깨내니 이니 띵이즈는 샤. 선은 나버려 예매미 묘모 체외 창네. 신. 신이 맞아 들샤. 가다 이니 띵이즈 거래. 띵이즈 뭐 좀나? 아니 가쇼리 거기. 다또 냐라 지지베 띵이즈 매나 대베 묘모 라고디디 수수부 샤야. 에너 하고도야 띵인진기 템포션 나바이나 아니 상동기 다 실기 돼야 용거 말이 되면은 아니 지도도 상동 용도 말이 되면은 아니 녀몽배 뻔히고 계속 말이 순진배 녀보 zam도 뻔히고 계속 말이 다들 숨비하래 되는데 띵인지 주고 그래.
So the chapter opens with the following stanza when Shantideva writes, upon developing joyous effort in this way, one should stabilize the mind in meditative concentration, since a person whose mind is distracted lives between the fangs of the afflictions. So in this opening stanza, Shantideva is explaining the necessity and the importance of having concentration or meditative concentration. And for example, without, when you lack concentration and meditative concentration, then many of the afflictions that are part of the mental states in a desire realm become much more prominent, dominant, and particularly if concentration or meditation is lacking in the person, then there will be no basis for the possibility of cultivating special insight, and particularly special insight on the supramundane level, where the insight is focused upon the realization of the ultimate nature of reality, and without such special insight focused on, directed to realization of ultimate nature of reality, then there is no possibility of cultivating within the powerful antidotes that would eliminate the afflictions. So therefore, those who wish to cultivate such an antidote, one needs to cultivate meditative concentration.
나야 다디 참데 디표쇼 꿈을 밟았으쇼.
So at this point, we will read from Kamala Shila's text.
你说，대다 구조 전술이 있으면 깨네. 다음에 수술 깨배서 배워 차고.
So we read from page 78 of the English translation. And those who read the Tibetan text, it's on page 175. So we read from the text, after generating the conventional awakening mind of bodhicitta, endeavor to cultivate the ultimate awakening mind.
다 전전 전주 심 디다 거방 디 초승교래. 전전 전주 심 되니 지전 대바 저바 타타도 차와. 다 소지 다들 지전 대바사디 소수교 살은 대바 파파리야. 다 지전 대바람 지전 대바스. 전에다 코아 편집을 내 소화견디 소수교 저는 주로 처음으로 내가 mention이 레서닝 연구하리 대바톤을 하면 세트를 연습을 했잖아요. 대바무슨 동시전에 편집을 해서 매버리. 저기 네 이미지잖아요. 지금 대바서 소샤 또 저지 베지트 레레송 담면로 야 저지는 다 대바무슨도 다 통일잖아요. 대찬에 다 가서 말하는 소지 제 가다베 뒤지수이 또아서 봐도 매댕이지 아니 남 아니 사나 럽기 탈선데 아니 똑같게 있잖아요. 돈이를 미게 사나를 탈 사나 럽다 선댕이 또미로 니나 누팅에 토민도잖아요. 다 소지사를 파. 다 그렇게 지는 데가 숨겨야 돼. 리미도잖아요. 별로 쓸수 되니 지는 데가 그래서 단 지는 소파 참 되는 샤시고 돈이 도마도 돈에 다 저바 참전도 자와스 다한테 손실 순수잖아요. 돈이 떠고 짬마이 봐 돈이 무슨도 더 되는 다 근데 장죽 심지스면 지도 돈을 줄 심스도와 아다 대체 지내는 데와스 저바 타다도 자와 세대한테 각서 저배다 타탐셔도 좋았어요. 지금 놀 때는 아니 타니다 차다다 땅다 니사. 근데 자주 오면은 딱 하다 급디 저바다 좋았잖아요. 지금 된주고 저바다 가봐요. 다가는 신기 그 최신의 저바에 가루요. 저바 타다녀 쉬워 순산에. 다 각자 각성 그 동리 대장장 따라려 샤자지 디셔도 전에 네 동반이 더 삼아로 되는 집에 매버리 샤바시 되나야 집부심은 따와면 제 송샤디 집부 송대야디 대고셔도 와 동리 장셔도 나한테 질 네 동반이 더 삼아로 돼 연구를 보다 다 안다 대 돈이 것도 또 동리 질 동리 또 아니도 전에 각자 각성 대강 해도 마도 대래 셴베 내 동반이 누구였어? 동반이 도구유 삼에서로 내 동이 미규 삼에서로 네 동반이 인삼으로 동이 여 삼에서로 진짜 천이야. 가서 가서 내가 뭐도 하게 매. 그래서 네 대래 셴도 네 동반이 도 삼에서로 지니나 양체를 수도 샤야. 근데 주머니나 아니 내가 말해 대수요다. 세상아 최전 다가다 그 니나 그 잡아도 최전 그 잡아도 군소 그 잡아도 저다 30년 녀를 지워왔어. 다 신도 싸웠잖아요. 다 장점 주지를 다 그게 제탈을 니테하게 동반이 돼야 니나 누구시 또 알려서는 신도 싸워. 된다면 주 저도가 유턴도 버리 미팅해. 된제가 로디 깨왜 내가라 로디 몰라 치멜라가 매대봐. 주모매봐. 아니 신내가 더더 제대 로신 주잖아요. 미국 주니의 신도 요하매봐. 롱매봐 마음에 좀 미워.
So we read in Kamalashila's text, after having first explained the need to cultivate ultimate awakening mind, then he actually defines what ultimate awakening mind is. So the text reads, the ultimate awakening mind is transcendent, it is free from all elaborations, it is extremely clear, and the object of ultimate, stainless, unwavering, like a butter lamp undisturbed by the wind. So these characteristics describe what ultimate awakening mind is. So the reference to a transcendent here is to indicate that ultimate awakening mind, ultimate bodhicitta, is really a direct realization of, involves the direct realization of emptiness, complemented by bodhicitta, the awakening mind. And so generally, when we speak about a transcendent or supramundane level of the path and mundane level of the path, the demarcation between the mundane levels and the transcendent levels is whether or not one has gained direct realization of the truth, particularly of emptiness. And so up until one attains the path of seeing, all the realizations of the truth will be more through the medium of concept and thought. So that's, and at the point of direct path of seeing, there's a direct realization of emptiness and a direct realization of the truth. So it is on this basis, a distinction is drawn between those on the noble path, path of the Aryas, the superior beings, and those of the ordinary beings. So the transcendence here refers to this non-conceptual direct realization of the truth. And another distinction is also up until the attainment of the path of seeing, there is always the potential for the creation of new karma, karmic action. And at the point when one gains direct realization of the truth, then any potency of creating new karma has been eliminated. So there is no potential for creating a projecting karma, a karma that would project a rebirth in a cyclic existence. So it is on that basis a distinction is drawn between ordinary beings, sentient beings, and Arya, noble beings. So the transcendence here refers to the ultimate awakening mind as being direct realization of emptiness that is non-conceptual and complemented with bodhicitta, awakening mind. And then the second characteristic it says is that it is free from all conceptual elaborations. So the direct realization of emptiness is devoid of any form of conceptual elaborations, and particularly the elaborations of any of the extremes of absolutism or nihilism. And also there is no duality of the subject upon which emptiness is realized. So it is a totally non-conceptual, non-dual experience of emptiness. And then it talks about the ultimate awakening mind as being extremely clear, and this again refers to its quality of being totally non-conceptual state, where the realization of emptiness takes the form of a direct experience, a kind of a luminous direct experience. And so when we talk about being free from all conceptual elaborations, it also implies being free of any form of grasping. So, for example, when one is meditating upon emptiness, and at that point, if even a kind of a lingering thought arises that this is emptiness, that is also a form of grasping. So if one even have the thought, yes, emptiness exists, that is also a form of elaboration. So, for example, in the Sakya teachings on the parting from the four clingings, and there is a line which says that if there is grasping, it is not a view. So this is the meaning of that line in the Sakya teachings from the parting from the four clingings. So when the actual realization of emptiness takes place, the actual content of that experience is total absence, negation of any form of conceptual elaborations, any form of grasping. So, and it doesn't involve any affirmation of either the existence of emptiness or either the kind of self-consciousness of this being empty and so on. So, so this is what is meant by being free of all conceptual elaborations. So then it is extremely clear, which also refers to the quality of the presence of shamatha in that experience, the tranquil abiding. And then it says that it is the object of the ultimate awareness, and it is stainless, unwavering, like a butter lamp, undisturbed by the wind.
Again, I forget about question and answer.
The first question, is nirvana a physical place or a state of being after death?
Nirvana se tadi musha da mudibe shuna lole tarba de yung gu yare ya rigi shingam so tsiya chi da sanje be shunne nirvana sunzane peji nyangye sari nyangye tiji nyumol shani di nyumol che negudela nyangde saro da telaya 아다 그신의 그다 아다 자시로 치 라더니 뭐 세베타 라더니 뭐 저다르는 저 동번 니투 각번지 시네 고아들래 봐이나 다 그것이 신이체 디 텔레 다 가서 그게 다 가다 컨텐츠 있어야 돼 릭머리 이거 전에 대권한이 릭는 양대 대권한이 릭는 것도 주는 아니 탈심을 내걸로 냥대 대권한이 몽네 치료도 떠나 고아 자다 과외 취지디 대권한이로 몽배wan 게 용도 변두잖아요 대권한이로 몽바 세한디 대권한이가 된 뭔도 교리잖아요 대권한이가 된 시행이잖아요 대권한이로 몽보된 가루 자 대권한이로 몽보된 가서디 생그런 신남다가 용수 가루도 그래서 리리잖아요 춘이 가서 냥대 사서 어떤 조주스 상담이나 심취니드 상담에 임벌이 다들이 자신의 냥대스도 심취 연대 대응으로 파바바자 같이 보이나 심취니 정신남다 시대하디 냥대를 정신남다 아니 정신냥대세 송도와 정신냥대 사제냥대 사매냥대 면대배냥대세 버진은 냥대 먹고도 삼주 지나다들이 영자로 다변양대 시체니 수도 속이야래 다들이 이미 되잖아요 또 조선 취성당다.
So in fact the notion of liberation or nirvana is found also in non-Buddhist classical Indian traditions where the term moksha, freedom, is used. In some non-Buddhist classical Indian tradition sometimes this liberation, this freedom is also envisioned in the form of kind of, getting to a physical plane, kind of a realm of existence. However, in the Buddhist context, the understanding of nirvana is quite different. There is a stanza in Nagarjuna's text, Fundamental Wisdom of the Middle Way, which presents the Buddhist understanding of nirvana, where he says that it is through the cessation of karma and afflictions, that one gains freedom. And karma and afflictions arises from conceptual elaborations, and the karma and afflictions arises from conceptualization, and the conceptualization arises from elaborations, and how the elaborations are calmed or pacified by means of emptiness. So this presents, or one can read the final line as elaborations are pacified within emptiness. So what this presents is that in Buddhism, the understanding of nirvana has to be in terms of a state of mind or a quality of mind. And furthermore, if we try to understand this at a more deeper level, then we are talking about an ultimate nature of mind itself, because it is in relation to the nature of mind we either become caught in samsaric unenlightened existence or gain enlightenment. So it is in relation to the nature of mind itself which defines samsara and nirvana. So the ignorance with respect to the nature of mind involves samsara, and insight into the nature of mind leads to freedom or liberation or nirvana. So in the final analysis, it is nirvana must be understood on the basis of the ultimate nature of mind, which is in Buddhism characterized as a naturally abiding nirvana, and it's a naturally pure nature. And so therefore, for example, in the text, we find mentions of 4 types of nirvana. A natural nirvana, which refers to the natural purity of the mind, and then you have nirvana with residue, and then nirvana without residue, and the non-abiding nirvana of the Buddhas. So in brief, in the Buddhist context, when we speak about nirvana, we have to understand it as a state of mind, a quality of mind, and furthermore, the ultimate nature of mind, which is cleansed of all the afflictions. Have you yet chosen the next Dalai Lama? No pressure. And
no
just
pressure.
No pressure. Pressure to mess. Just curious.
Of course, as far as Dalai Lama, I think Dalai Lama Institution is concerned, as early as 1969, one of my formal statement I made clear, the very institution of Dalai Lama should continue or not up to Tibetan people. So, if at this sort of situation, the majority of Tibetan people or concerned people feel Dalai Lama institution is now no longer much relevant, then this institution will cease. So sometimes I jokingly used to telling or expressing I think now last a few hundred centuries old, this institution ceased at the time of 14th Dalai Lama. It's nice because this 14th Dalai Lama, not one of the best Dalai Lama, but also not worst Dalai Lama. So Dalai Lama institution, century-old institution, ceased with dignified way. Dignity. Yeah, good then. However, in case I think presence of the circumstances, and also I think sometime in future, I think Dalai Lama institution, most Tibetan people, and also concerned other people, I think may prefer remain is in this institution. Then the question, how choose the successor? So, I think more than 20 years, I express, in case the Dalai Lama institution should continue, then again, there are different options about the succession. One, popes, also the selection. That kind of thing also is possible. Then, another thing, something like appointment. That also possible. Then, the traditional way, finding reincarnation. After one person passed away, then search another boy, whether truly same person or not, same sentient being or not. Find out one suitable person, a suitable boy, or some cases suitable girl, like that. So that's the traditional way. Then another traditional way is, before previous Lama die, he or she already choose one one
successor,
boy or girl, and designated as his or her reincarnation. That's also possible. So in any way, sometimes you see people quite seriously asking these things. Even some government also is showing concern. So I usually answer, no hurry. So since it's my so it seems, I think now, although over now 73 years old, but still seems quite fit. So no hurry.
What is
I think, but now on, I think fact is, exiled community, we already, since 2001, we already have elected political leadership. So temporal matter, they carry every 5 years election. So I have no worry. Since then, my position is already retired, semi-retired position. Then, for spiritual matter, they're all different traditions. Saitya, Nyingma, Goju, Kilu, Chonang, and all tradition, including Pernbo. Now, younger generation, the age between 20, around 20, young, bright, sort of generation who have the ability or qualification to carry responsibility for spirituality. Now, quite healthy sort of generation now coming. So, at least next 100 or more, I do not have sort of concern, no problem. Even if this situation remain, no problem. But then after a few hundred years, then nobody knows. Your nation, America also, after a few hundred years, nobody knows what will happen. Yes.
What is the smallest body to be the basis of a sentient being?
Or as far as I think, a sentient being with sort of grosser level of physical. Of course, from Buddhist viewpoint, there are formless sentient beings also there. But the smallest sort of sentient being, at least on this planet, many years ago, when Francisco Varela, there is one sort of conclusion after our discussion. I think the demarcation, sentient being and non-sentient being, is a thing which can move by itself from one place to another place. So that's the demarcation of the sentient being or non-sentient being. So according to that, the smallest sentient being is amoeba, the smallest sort of sentient being. So further research may change that concept, but so far, that's our conclusion. Next question.
Although Buddhism does not believe in a creator God, does Buddhism believe in a kind of force of universal good, universal goodness?
Good.
Now, Sangcho, the Tartu Bridge.
Sangpurushe.
Now,
What do you mean? I don't know. Oh. Of course, one way, universal good.
now universal force of universal goodness, goodness.
Force.
Now, Sangcho Tartu Bridge, never Vigilia, when the Chigris.
I don't know. Of course, the Tongpo Tinju Tongpo Silizane, Tony Dada Rupia and Joseph Sungyare. Contact Chatamjalo, Tishinile, that Tishin generation to you in the Zane, Tishini number Tishini Gaba. The Jaya.
Since in Buddhism there is the explanation of the ultimate nature of reality in terms of the relationship between dependent origination and emptiness, and there is an understanding that all the phenomena in existence are in some sense manifestations of this or expressions of this ultimate nature, which is emptiness.
나야. 가서 그래서 럽스 좋아. 뉴먼 현지게 왜세스. 다또 안다. 콘텐츠 좀 심지 거버려서. 다 심지 봐봐 대치면은 뉴먼 현지게 왜세. 다디 콘텐츠 끊어 켜봤으면 콘텐츠 탐제 뒤다 거봐. 뒤 얘기를 봐. 주민단들 좀 얘기 잡아 얘기 가봐. 다들 이디 너가 투모도 집에 이 상담이 그때 당가 투모이 라면 투모이 샤베이나 이모도 집에 와서 잡아 와서 가봐. 정신 샤베이네 대간을 내는 거래. 착제시부선이 대간을 내는 거래. 사도 수주 건데 예매가 다 쓰는 전에 대간을 내는 거래. 그래서 들이 전에 아다 이모도 집에 와서 때 건데 탐지 처시 건데 탐지 시 실리 신앙 샤대야. 사운드 비춰가 차샤네. 팀블롱주 중얼록도 신. 다 특도기 된 양대 손주잖아요. 팀블롱중이 샤. 아니 중얼록도 되면도 봐. 아니 용어를 집에 가서 커랭하다 땡도 내야지. 저상한 면회변이 안 돼서 용어를 집에 가서 다가가면서 싸움당도 와. 구시스럽게 뒤가는 샤이. 용어를 집에 와서 거라 이시축으로 치 용어를 집에 와서 춘이디 모니고로 치 그래 안돼 용어를 집에 와서 거라래 모니고 민다 텐지디고 고 모니고 고스 두제 모니고 고스 민다고요 데이터 모치고 있는 게 에너지 룽 에너지 스타트기 수구차 숨차. 그리고 디시에 구송 톡송스도 용을 하지지 왜세 당 대다 모이엘매베 아니 샹베룸 데니부티기 아니 구송 톡송 샤트지. 지산 양대 특도 시행되잖아요. 용을 하지지 왜세 다게 다 가소래. 또 왜세 다게 랑다 삽샤도 다 마다고 쳐지지 왜세 텔레 샤르데베 중 룩도기 짐베 아니 신내야 락베롱스 체 대를 봐셔야 되지 타르도 용도 용을 집에서 거래 랑다르도 이샤도 또좀 시설지다 시로 디체버지 다디 체버를 베스로나 과바베서로 제법베서로 그래 셰싱도.
So, and especially if we bring in the perspective of Vajrayana, highest yoga tantra, we already discussed to some extent how many of the grosser levels of consciousness can be ultimately kind of reduced to ever more subtle levels of consciousness. We spoke about that through the waking state, dream state, deep sleep state, and so on, how ultimately they all can be traced to the fundamental innate mind of clear light. So in this sense, in the Vajrayana, there is a notion that the entire world of both samsaric existence and also nirvanic freedom are manifestations or expressions of this fundamental innate mind of clear light. And in fact, from the highest yoga tantric point of view, in fact, nirvana must also be understood in terms of the fundamental innate mind of clear light, where when the fundamental innate mind of clear light, the non-abiding nirvana of the Buddhas has to be understood in terms of the fundamental innate mind of clear light. And this is when the processes, when you experience, when the fundamental innate mind of clear light dawns, there is a process of dissolution ever becoming progressively subtler, finally culminating in the experience of clear light. And for ordinary beings in the cyclic existence, then from this subtle level of innate mind of clear light, then the grosser levels of the mind arises in a kind of a reversal sequence. So what marks an individual's attainment of non-abiding nirvana is when the individual arrives at a point of the fundamental innate mind of clear light, and no longer there is this reversal process of evolving into a more grosser forms of existence, with afflictions and so on. And also in the Vajrayana understanding, the Buddhas, arising of the Buddha's four kayas, are also the Buddha's four embodiments, are also understood in terms of the fundamental innate mind of clear light. The fundamental innate mind of clear light itself is the wisdom body of the Buddha, and its ultimate nature of that becomes the natural body of the Buddha, and then the subtle energy that accompanies with it from which arises the speech of the Buddha, and also it is the Buddha body of perfect enjoyment or resource, or the form body arises from this. So in the Vajrayana context, even the nature of the four Buddha bodies are understood in terms of the fundamental innate mind of clear light. So in this sense, there is a kind of a notion in the Vajrayana tradition where the fundamental innate mind of clear light serves as the basis for the arising of the entire phenomenal world. Now the question, and this is a perspective that is found in the highest yoga tantra, and so this is also the similar perspective found in the Dzogchen teachings of great perfection, and also the Mahamudra great seal teachings. So this perspective is shared in all of these lineages. And however, as to the question of whether in the Buddhist tradition this fundamental clear light mind can be seen as a creator, in a kind of an agent, then it's a different question. But it is seen as a basis from which everything arises.
benando konde yeme sundu자네 규시규규 디 코레 쳇탐제 신익 수두상 람디 최탐제 연댕수도 참 데뷔 최탐제 누디수도 참 누베수도 참 so 컨대예미 지성등도
So, for example, in the perspective of the indivisibility or indivisibility of inseparability of samsara and nirvana view of Sakya tradition, one understands what is called the causal continuum of the foundational consciousness, and within this foundational consciousness, all the phenomena of the samsaric world are present in the form of various characteristics of that mind, and all the qualities of the path are presented in the form of attributes of that mind, and all the qualities of the Buddha are present in that mind in the form of potentials. So in this way, the Sakya tradition explains this. And to use Dzogchen terminology, so to use Dzogchen great perfection terminology, the fundamental innate mind of clear light is referred to as the primordial Buddha, and primordially enlightened. And on the basis of that, one needs to cultivate the path and then gain actual enlightenment. And at that point, one is referred to as someone who has become re-enlightened, reawakened. So although we are primordially enlightened, we tend, we have to exist in a state of confusion. Why is it so easy to show compassion to animals, but much harder to have compassion for humans?
Animal I think animals
well, the animals are not much of a source of threat.
I think within animal, I think like rabbit or cat, there's not much of danger, and dog. And tiger, lion, what do you feel? Similar compassion? I don't think. So I think so long the thing, no danger to us, then easier to
have compassion,
to show affection, like that. So then human being, which Kadam Kong's Sunju Livanasi, me sheshi me sumre. These are Dimidus love city, the Minaza lower was this water, me sheshi me, and Chichil Katan said the Kuchini's water.
This reminds me of a saying of the Kadampa masters, early Kadampa masters. They say that the subject of human beings.
The Kadampa Kishilia. Music shiv, the Karana me cutting to what Chichido was and shiv. Oh, the cameras, me shashi miri, so that the cutting is. And Dina Zene, me shashi, most of Julia, Yachan Yashikin, what much of a militia him do. Then she didn't come Shantashabe, Soja Zong as she asked him do. That was the only thing on as we had to shake you. That midi shake you. Dina and most of it. Oh, yes, someone most of the shake you, much of the shask.
So this was actually once a person approached a Kadampa master and informed the Kadampa master that there were people who were speaking badly about him. And the Kadampa master told this person, don't worry, the topic of human accusation and criticism, human criticism and complaints will always have to be human beings. And therefore, it is natural that human beings will complain about other human beings. And in fact, if you think about it, not only is that human beings that we talk about and criticize and complain, but also it tends to be generally people that we know or we have some relationship with. For example, we're not going to complain and talk about sentient beings existing in a outer space. We're going to talk about human beings on this earth, and even within that group, we are mostly going to complain about or criticize or talk about someone who we have some connection with, someone that we know. Your Holiness, I have a question about being wise selfish. If motivational intent, motivation creates karma, if intention creates karma, does not this attitude of rejoicing in others' anger towards you create negative karma? Should it not create compassion for them, not joy for yourself?
되게 진주스나들.
No, Narisha.
가르쳐서.
간다 게데 굴롱 기토네 아니 레사기요나스.
알아.
아니 셴기 수 롱체블이야. 디랜리야 가옹검나스. 아니 디
가옹검도 랑글 레스국서.
아래 가옹검바이나 아니 랭엠바사기요 마르베스. 디 가옹검에 sable야 닝지검에 야가요 마르베스. 수수 가옹검을래.
아니 진짜 말이야. 가옥공다 파르베 네바체베 네베 자와디 야고를 쓰면 가옥공에 봐. 파르베 나는 네바체베 되게 나는 세베냐면 자 고급 중수스 가옥공이야.
So maybe there is a slight element of confusion here. The point about cultivating joy is not directly related to the other person's inflicting of harm upon us and thinking that this is the right thing to do, but rather it is more indirect. So because the other person has inflicted harm upon you, this has created a condition, provided a condition for you to further develop and enhance your practice of forbearance, and it is in that context that you cultivate a sense of rejoicing or joy. So of course, towards the actor, towards the agent who is perpetrating the harm, causing the harm, then one needs to cultivate compassion. Do we, Your Holiness, do we ever experience anything that we did not create a karmic cause for? Legi, kanda legi ene sabe, gyuchebe, gengi chungwa maimbe, nyamnyong misete de, chita nyamnyong yorbes, nyamnyong tsangma.
집하지 말도 생기. 런실 생기베, 변은 소화 당뇨 먹고지 런실 생기베라는 쓰고 잖아요.
I think there are. For example, many of the natural states of our experience, such as more neutral sensations and neutral feelings, and this is kind of natural, innate.
아주 풍부주의하게 디나나 직직이 그걸 춘이랑 그러지면은 생각 그걸 자랑 건 리베를 하지. 저는 가서 계시면 메다 소소소 리베지들이 왜냐면 나는 이미 미신다. 그걸 자랑 건 리베진도 돼야지. 그걸 춘이기를 보셔야 되다. 아니 자식을 보셔야 돼야 돼. 아니 때베를 보디에 그걸 춘이기를 보다. 자소스 누르면 말아야 되는데 그걸 춘이기를 봐. 딜래가 말아. 지상 안아서 풍부 그 자를 때는 주제비 있잖아요. 그걸 자가 누르지 된대요. 디나는 직직 레든 줘야 돼. 직직 레든 줘 매도시 매도서.
So for example, if we take our own physical body, within the physical body there will be, there are many different elements, and at the level of these elements there are a lot of causal processes, and so my own feeling is that there must be a level of these processes which probably has nothing to do with karma, which is simply kind of a consequence of the natural processes we spoke about yesterday with respect to flower and the mechanisms that must exist in flower for sustenance and its survival. Similarly, in our own body, our body is composed of material substances, material elements, and these material elements, they have their own laws of nature. And so yesterday we spoke about how one need to take into account the principle of nature, the principle of function based upon that, and principle of dependence. So the fact that there is a dependent relationship, the fact that certain elements have a certain functions and so on, and then the fact that these elements possess certain characteristics in nature, these are very much part of the reality. And so I feel that when it comes to our own experiences, which are contingent upon our body, and given that within our body there are processes, some of which have nothing to do with karma, and some which have relevance to our karmic processes.
담아직 가샤를 쳐더니 담아직 한 눈을 쳐더니 레자 이미시다. 되는 시간 주변은 베네페르샤는 예배도 미국 가셔 독스테디 미국 가셔 가파도아샤 디지털 라인에 말입니다.
So, for example, if we take this flower and some of the petals of the flower may be pointing to the eastern direction, some to the western direction, and I don't think that is a function of karma. And similarly, my own eyebrows, some strands of the hair seems to be pointing upwards, some seems to be pointing sideways. I don't think that has anything to do with the karma. So these are really kind of functions of immediate circumstances and conditions.
Yeah. That's the challenge.
So we will now read from the text.
That did Jiren Deva, that Yishit the Jonia, Shine Shishaku Yari. The day into Zane, and the Gongjig Lung Chang Nanche, Yendu Changju Samba, Jishibe, Geweshu Jideba Jidin Deva Tamje, Shineta Langdong Mersan. That Shineta Langdong Migitembe, and the Janjo Gomni doing what chose.
Then Kamalashila explains that such ultimate awakening mind, in order for that to realize or attain, one must have as its basis both the tranquil abiding and especially inside Vipassana. So we read, and then here, this is on page 81 of the English translation. He cites from Samdhi Nirmochana Sutra, unraveling the intent of the Buddha, where he says that this is achieved through constant and respectful familiarity with the yoga of tranquil abiding meditation and special insight over a long period of time. And the Samdhi Nirmochana Sutra says, O Maitreya, you must know that all the virtues, dharma of disciples, bodhisattvas and tathagatas, whether worldly or transcendental, are the fruits of tranquil abiding, meditation, and special insight.
That is what the Shinism Boshi Comparcheve, Ninajavan Jiba Mibungis, Rishinum number never some to 7 days. That Shiragi, what are it? That is some day, Papa things is given to Lunchani, things to combat some gay, Numo Ponto Mare Kareslamna, Tin Yumugasawa, Datun Tushio, Datun somebody, Lanibuching Maris. The day into Sane, Datun somebody never hindu, Numo, Chadang Numo, Timbre, Sene. Tawana Tami, Kasajo, Datun somebody pointed the Kareslamna, Dame was so dogway, Shirati, Conaris, Te. And Dangzin, Guinea Buchan, Dangzin Pampa, the Toyunguri, tele shenbe energy gevelo bena changju samdawo benamjin tuwe tu so chade wari de ini dangzin shitok marbe setok marbe sana dangzin seyage ko choa chearo ko gen cheado shibujik da yungure de ine ngoji ni mu chimare so de sonta.
So then we read in page 82, Kamala Shila writes, yogis cannot eliminate the mental obscurations merely by familiarizing themselves with tranquil abiding meditation. And then later, on page 83, Kamala Shila cites from, must be from Samadhiraja Sutra, King of Meditation Sutra. There's an error in the translation here. This should be from the King of Meditation Sutra, where Kamala Shila cites from the sutra the following lines. Even if you meditate with single-pointed concentration, you will not destroy the misconception of the self, and your afflictions will disturb you again. And this is like the Udrag's single-pointed meditation. So he's explaining that without explaining that the meditation on tranquil abiding, shamatha alone, will not lead to the elimination of the afflictions, because it does not negate or it does not eliminate the grasping at self, the conception of self. And then the question is, what kind of a path would bring about the elimination of the afflictions and eliminate the eradication of grasping at self? Then he cites, when the selflessness of phenomena is examined specifically, and meditations are performed on the basis of that analysis, that is the cause of the resultant liberation. No other cause can bring peace. So the final line refers to the point that although the other elements, aspects of the path, very important aspects of the path, such as awakening mind, bodhicitta, are very important factors for the attainment of Buddhahood. But however, factors like bodhicitta are only necessary complements, and they cannot directly eliminate and counter grasping at self. So the only path that can directly counter the grasping at self and eliminate them is the wisdom of no self. So therefore, the sutra says that no other cause can bring nirvanic peace.
Yeah. That didn't disham de titwa. That shilani would be soon to do race, Drishon. That tell a Thomas Rishi, Nanjoba can't get there. You do, she net a hundred ruble, she net a hundred solar, chet them of chaos. That she net a hundred said the assembly and then shadiare, Jewish shadiare. They ran and get sort of ten, the name is an got a tomb to tomb, maybe you saw the two race. That you look at us, Lona. Thomas Snake talk connection to be in a never double shown so. That leader man soon, deem more, it must savage and soon to.
And then, having explained the need for union of tranquil abiding, shamatha, and special insight vipassana as a path to attain liberation, then Kamala Shila goes on to explain the specific conditions that one must seek, the prerequisite that must seek in order to cultivate a tranquil abiding and special insight, because tranquil abiding and special insights are qualities of a developed mind, and these being qualities of developed mind which can only be attained as a resultant state, one needs to cultivate the causes and conditions that would lead to them. So here he writes, for example, on page 94 of the English translation, he says that initially the yogi should seek the prerequisites that can assist him in actualizing tranquil abiding meditation and special insight quickly and easily. And then he goes on to explain first the prerequisites for the cultivation of tranquil abiding, when he writes the prerequisites necessary for the development of tranquil abiding meditation are to live in a conducive environment, to limit your desires and practice contentment, not being involved in too many activities, maintaining pure moral ethics, and so on. So these are very explicitly listed and explained. And then on page 96, he explains the particular specific prerequisites that are necessary to be cultivated as a basis for arising of special insight. So this is on page 96, where he says that what are the prerequisites of special insight? They are relying on holy persons, seriously seeking extensive instruction, and proper contemplation. So he identifies three main prerequisites for special insight, and these are again explained in greater detail in the text itself. So then, for example, on page 97, he says, what is meant by proper contemplation? So this is the last paragraph. It is properly establishing the definitive and interpretable meanings of the sutras. So it emphasizes the importance of understanding what are the definitive meanings of the sutras and what are the more provisional meanings of the scriptures. So this will come later on.
And
then on page 100, Kamala Shila writes, yogis should at all times avoid fish, meat, and so forth, and should eat with moderation and avoid foods that are not conducive to health. So ideally, for someone dedicated to cultivating special insight, the recommendation here is to being vegetarian. So the reference here to eating with moderation, particularly for monastic, if you relate it to the monastic vows, the precept of not eating after lunch is an excellent one. Then Kamala Shila explains the actual meditation practice by dividing the forms of practices that needs to be adopted during the formal sitting sessions and during post-meditation sessions. And then in the formal sitting session, he explains the procedure, which would begin with, say, for example, taking refuge in the three jewels and so on. So these are explained in 102, page 102.
Then yalang cha chenes, the yalang and the cha set jenny. Then she sang the children to Kusu, Romulos of Dundu, Shagam. Shando Yarung is that Soso Yevache. Yanji Jidishu, some of the Madevicene, when I checked that children to Tone, Kusu to the Yone Yapore. That Injimiji Comnam Nichevaga, Kusu to the Yoka, Kayama, Chizumelato, naturally won't shoot it. Per conjunct Jong, one at Tane, to wait and sensing it, then the Sugian Chatagari, in a call, then they Kusu to the Stakakim Doha. In the Kakam Haviche, Zozo, that 두 냠신나니 다 용되게 알아. 시작해서 말이. 샹도야 론데스. 대자라 진리주 쳐봐도 떠바차라 sen 야나도 먹고도 당 송거야래. 가서 주주도 한테만 지 야나도 먹고도 당스. 대내 땡 대와라 삼den지 때 대중세 토스. 다들이야. 에네 남나그 쳐 윤남 쳐. 이 옹종원 내배 남나그 쳐게. 다 디디니. 이게다 도루 수도 좀 버체니. 에네 공무시켜 버리. 스테송다.
So then the text explains that one should make prostrations to the image, the object of refuge, with all the 5 parts of the body touching the ground. And then on page 105, Kamala Shila talks about the need to have a representation of the Buddha or image. He says that he should place an image of the Buddha and Bodhisattvas, such as a painting in front of him, or in some other place. He should make as many offerings and praises as he can, and so on. So here, of course, if you can acquire and obtain an image, a representation of the Buddha without any much difficulty, then it's wonderful. But if you cannot afford it, it's not necessary. It is not indispensable for actual meditation to have an image of the Buddha in front of you. For example, if you look at the life of Milarepa, who was one of the greatest, who was actually the epitome of Tibetan meditator, and also someone who can be seen as the crown jewel among the hermits and meditators in Tibet. Milarepa had no image in his meditation cave, yet he was a great meditator. So one should not make unnecessary efforts and to try to obtain one. What matters is the actual practice. So anyway, if you have the image, and then in front of the image, and then the text says you should make an offering, many offerings and praises as you can. You should confess your misdeeds and rejoice in the merits of other beings. So in other words, in the presence of this image, one should then engage in the practice of the 7 limbs, as explained before. We talked about the 7 limbs earlier, which was presented in Shantideva's text. And then the text goes on to state the need to adopt a physical posture that is appropriate to the formal sitting meditation. And it talks about the 7-fold posture of Vairochana. And if we include the breathing on this, it will be an 8-fold posture of Vairochana, which refers to the posture of one's legs, the position of one's legs, and so on.
다 신의 실루잖아요. 그것을 미국 대가 마도버지기 르 가서 유시한이야. 초 신의. 아니 다른 신기 미국을 내가 그들이 지금 칭워도 된다기 신의 더 친구 견다 차워. 미국을 산이다 내버려야. 그래서 신에서. 자 야나 지 띵인지 제시고 다 된지티 아니 두두산에 지름만 로리아 지 대한 강리니 로도 상단에서네 로디가 내 차로지도 와 된디가 전조 가리네 그렇지 내야 데려고 띵인진기 그래 차로지도 와 어다 대 실을 여대버디 야제던 게 요래 다 믹스가 안 다 될래야 믹스의 유지고 위에 있잖아요. 다 건들 신에게 믹벌이야. 아니 미국 잡아도 소리. 다 진짜가 남주고 미국다. 가서 있는지 영어 남주고 미국 사러 되겠다. 캐벨 미국 사러 되겠고. 다 뮤직 거네. 아니 캐벨 미국 왔어. 다 자금도 조금 다 조디니가 하는 소용 거야. 아니 거봐 용주. 되겠다. 송도와 자, 다한테 도준님고 지 신의 주변 미국다 신의다 방송해야 돼. 미국의 전에 캐식 매발에 동일의 미국 신의 예발에 진입을 미국 방송 예발에 자, 이런 의미에서는 미국의 미지. 다 신랑이스들은 미국장 캐치. 신의 세야 돼. 미주 这些都叫的，汤东是对，这些都叫我怎么样？我接的些，汤通是啥呢？过来引路拉过来通，引路了说到个关呢，得引路拉过来通。但引路了几年引路，用过几年引路，但引路是在加强越南么呢？大家当我们那时候过来几年对路就打，记得个这些年对路就特多对路就些用过了吧？在这里就是啥呢？过来在这里走了，每个到长多，那么几年个长多要的，几十个长多要的，这个送多，这些。
So then we read on page 107, Kamala Shila writes, a tranquil abiding meditation should be achieved first. A tranquil abiding is that mind which has overcome distractions to external objects and which spontaneously and continuously turns towards the object of meditation with bliss and pliancy. So we are, when we speak about tranquil abiding or shamatha, we are talking about a state of mind where all the distractions have been calmed. So literally, the Tibetan term for tranquil abiding is shine. So the first refers to a tranquility, and second refers to a stability or abiding. So the tranquility here refers to the calming of all forms of distractions, and so that one is able to maintain one's focus on the chosen object with single-pointedness and also with a settledness. And the abiding refers to this quality of stability and endurance. So what is happening here is that actually the natural quality of being able to maintain one's focus on the chosen object is something that we all possess. So we, for example, whether we are using analysis or whether we are simply attending to something, we have a natural quality of our mind which enables us to maintain our attention on the chosen object, at least for a while. And what is happening in the shamatha meditation, tranquil abiding meditation, is to trying to develop that faculty, develop that quality so that it evolves into a much more developed form so that we are able to deliberately maintain our focus on the chosen object of meditation for a prolonged period of time without distraction. And in contrast, special insight refers to a state of mind where one applies a certain element of discursiveness, probing into the nature of reality. So between these two forms of meditation, tranquil abiding and special insight, they are not distinguished on the basis of differences in their objects and their of objects of their focus, but rather the differences, they are differentiated on the basis of how the particular mental state engages with the object. In the tranquil abiding, the engagement takes the form of a single-pointed focus and abiding on that object, chosen object, whereas in the special insight, the engagement takes the form of an application of an analysis, particularly pertaining to the deeper nature of that reality. So it is the way in which one engages with the object differentiates between these two forms of meditation. Now, so in order to cultivate shamatha and also special insight, the meditator needs to choose an object. And with respect to the object of meditation, in the scriptures, there are many different types of objects listed. For example, specific objects that may be appropriate to individuals and depending upon their own emotional temperament. And also, there are objects that are more specific and relevant to the purification of one's afflictions, different forms of afflictions. And also, there is a type of object which are referred to as the objects of the learned ones, such as the enumerations of the elements and so on. So there are different forms of object listed, and both, which are relevant both for tranquil abiding meditation and special insight meditation.
Yeah, that is good. This today. The Kasasula na Juni Munzia di che. Di should the Rishinjang de Godi che. That is should the she so so tell a nanjaba shine ngobr tuban de tomar rishi doye te da yang jinje be dala so suro tada ni dishin le sho dishin le ba dishin le baba she tamje düdi telasem yor shawa chaos number 2 na number 7 ji chötum je dübür digo 풍부로 소고 되다라 심 yor shawa chao chen dan digi solo yana junyi le be handong ye solo yana junyi le be shine ye da solo yana junyi le be shine 주다 가르슬나 안다 디 쇼데 디 solo yana junyi di 탐제 뒤디 수 zhe como mai che solo yana junyi da tendiiri 디신이를 쇼 디신이를 바바 디신이를 바보 전수 두에 주기 아니 가서를 보게 두에 넘버로 바로 샤네 다 대가나 미주바 제시들 줘요도 신행이 버리지 다야 소노야라 준이 된 소소가나 봐 쩨의 상당인데 상동이 버리지 대신도 나바지로나 나바치즘지 최초지 되버리고 뉴제도지 부모가를 되면서로 시스템적으로 기준이 되면서로 감정적으로 되면서로 되면 상담이 대탐적으로서 되버리 sensu duwe tsuki. Eni domrup dewache digang lo lani shana shinegi miwa. Dan tena pa zhe chimayi na langdong miwa. Resong re.
So then we read on page 113 of the English text, Kamalashila explains again the differences in which the object of meditation is used in the context of shamatha, tranquil abiding meditation, and the vipassana, especially insight meditation. And he writes, the yogis who are interested in actualizing a calmly abiding mind should initially concentrate closely on the fact that the 12 sets of scriptures, the sutras, the melodious praises, and so forth, can be summarized as all leading to suchness, that they will lead to suchness, and then they have led to suchness. So, here Kamalashila is explaining that one can cultivate tranquil abiding focused upon the 12 sets of scriptures, or one can also cultivate a special insight focused upon the 12 sets of scriptures. The difference is that when you use the 12 sets of scriptures as an object of meditation in shamatha meditation, tranquil abiding, then you do so in a manner where you actually summarize all the contents of the teaching and simply place your mind on that summarized kind of form and without using any analysis. And when you engage in that way, you are engaging where you are taking the 12 sets of discourses as an object of meditation of shamatha, tranquil abiding. And when you take the 12 sets of scriptures and focus on individual characteristics of each of these scriptures, then you're already using analysis, and at that point you are taking the scriptures, 12 sets of scriptures, as an object of vipassana meditation. So that's the difference. So then Kamalashila also writes that one way of doing this meditation is to see the mind closely on the mental and the physical aggregates as an object that includes all phenomena. So in other words, for example, one can take the categories of phenomena, such as the 5 aggregates, the 5 skandhas, the 12 elements, and so on. And if you take these and focus on them in their summarized form, then you are using these elements and the skandhas as an object of meditation on tranquil abiding. But if you focus then on individual characteristics of the members of the list, then you are using that as an object of meditation of special insight. So these are the two differences in which the same object may be used in these two different contexts of meditation.
다양 meetings the semshane sem가리야 미가 다는 요 착신 공야 주제디 선 meeting 지겨리 다 성 meeting 야나 독립 meeting 샤네 수잔에다 따로 공부처스 다디 공부신도 넣고지 다 땅을 봤네 다양해와 지심을 영해지기 다 따도네 공부처스 말이 제 강사래 다 공도는 따도 처서도 땅은 능용을 안 줘요 땅이야 다에 거지에 정기체 아니야 신내야 즉 군수 미국지 신내 미국이잖니 신내지 소도지장 되는 배는 즉 신내 내세 로로 그제부 수실심을 대치기 야 그게 돈이도 잡아셔야 파다 로샤로 다 도선도지 로다 그래서 내일 전에 공도는 따져왔어 저다 간다 양급을 다 지시로 꾸슬름이니 다 응아 shum주 나라라 다 신의 공부 미견이야 자롱 틀리 아니 이게 아니 롱 들다 미니 신의 주야 용도가 장신 그들 예배이나 선을 신의 주야 진짜 예배 다 안데 나바 찍도는 진짜 통하다 진짜 되면서 이게 고속을 쓰면서 차대했어 다디 말하자면 가서 다 미팅도 라가 인사 로를 찾대 다 지금 미팅에 찍디 아주 내가 당보원이야 운동 미팅이지 우 난도 뭐보다 진중 뒤땅장 도스 믹시 대비나 남도 충도 용도대 하러 이제 전에 한데 선배 다과를 집에 선배 영도하러 초대하러 또 주뒤야 돼야 편도야 되지 야도가
So one can also choose one's own mind as the object of meditation on shamatha and vipassana, and this is in fact the principal approach found in the Mahamudra Great Seal practices. Then similarly, one can take emptiness as the object of one's meditation on tranquil abiding. But this approach where one takes emptiness as the object of meditation on tranquil abiding will be appropriate only for an individual with tremendously high caliber of mind and advanced faculty, because that approach is known as seeking meditation by means of the view, on the basis of a view. And that approach is generally understood to be much more challenging and appropriate only for a few with advanced mental capacities. So generally, for most people, the approach is to develop some intellectual understanding of emptiness, and then at the same time also try to develop one's quality of single-pointedness of the mind by meditating upon doing the meditation on tranquil abiding. And so here one chooses more kind of easier object, kind of more convenient objects, and as the quality of one's single-pointedness deepens and progresses, advances, then one will then be able to apply that more developed form of single-pointedness to one's understanding of emptiness. In this way, attain emptiness, meditation, kind of tranquil abiding, or focused on emptiness, realization of emptiness through this way, and that approach is known as seeking the view by means of meditation. So that approach generally tend to be much more suited to most of us practitioners. And so in the highest Yoga Tantra, we also find tranquil abiding meditations, shamatha meditations, where one takes the energy channels as one's object, or the energies that flow within, or the drops, or even syllable letters as objects of one's meditation, and cultivate tranquil abiding based on that. But for many individual practitioners, choosing a more convenient object that is more visible and concrete can be beneficial. So, for example, in the text here, Shantideva suggests taking the image of the Buddha as an object of meditation on tranquil abiding. So we read, for example, on page 113, he says, another way is to place the mind on an image of the Buddha. So, so you can do that, and particularly for many, for the beginners, taking one's own breathing process, breath as the object of meditation on tranquil abiding is very helpful, because by simply focusing one's mind on the breathing, both the inhalation and exhalation as counting as one, and focusing upon that. And the advantage of this is that by simply drawing one's attention to one's breath has the effect of calming down all the kind of, otherwise kind of habitual scatteredness of the mind and distraction because of all sorts of, internal chatter that goes in one's head. So choosing breath can have a calming effect on reducing that kind of unsettledness and scattered mind.
That meeting 가르치네요. that meeting telling us some your shanes, some of the Javachade. G. me will live on Zindam, when the Jingam, when the Shiri, the number of cherry, number of youngsome, number of double chows. That me will meeting and me was Shache, you understand? That condition quarters, not for a senior condition for a casual condition quarters, no? Meeting the some netting, meeting the Shambe, me pushing out some matria. Maya chick. That's some meeting the some henny, Deve, the church, some deep tongue you had a chick. But the minimum of the answer of you, this good worry. Yeah, some meeting never consider some nyop, there was some ching, there was cherry. Chick to come. Diana, Missewa, Muposach, Dia, the chimney dulcia. That Mishi Chimos Luzane, meeting Damashi Chimochara, Mongutu Yungutudi, Takanda, Jidanchana, meeting Yevche, meeting Malache, but not to meet that with him. In a meeting the Gala, meeting the number the huge number of ways, several Yevche. Guinea, Mixi, Loyagane, but Tuni Yoding, Kuma, 6,000 Chimdor, Nyota, Chinese, and Chimosuri. Just now, some Migwa, that meeting Zen, Migwa never could do the parching Chimoto Gaba. She'll try you. That toss and Jidan, that's some trotting at the Gabasla, the Java Chato. She Tangachita, Gasori, Sim, that she Ganasor, that you sent Shenji Chagri, China, the little simple Todero, Gabasatoa. Just now, the Zuta, didn't you get the part of you into? Didn't you never think we are? Didn't you never understand what's done? Some chimo said, some pang matter, some dogs which hurt her, sort of hurt her, so she chimoting. There are some pang total down. Some pang total down, Tabshi, some like Ganakea, Donakena, some dogs, Tundu, some somber child. Then some triade, some dogs, pang turtle. Tundra Gengi, Ansaro, Saturday Gengi, and some Chile Tundra Jungiari. So that Della some down Dugu. The lady some pound marked down. 심팡 말을 동야지 양식 지 가서 우리 그냥 미다고 보면 서로 지 동의 동의 보면 서로 지코야 거지 동의 보면 서로 근데 제가 신냥 또 심팡 심 준비 서로 심 첨비팡 말을 준비 서로 제일 전에 심배 가서 우리 팡 터차네 지 중균을 하대야 되는 용도 되게 하래 대달 심팡 퇴매 소수 냠용도 되네 rem바 지기타네 다 증거가 있냐보다로 드림을
So we read in Kamalashila's text on page 116 of the English translation. He writes, in this way, place the mind on the object of your choice, and having done so, repeatedly and continuously place the mind. Having placed the mind in this way, examine it and monitor whether it is properly focused on the object, and also check for dullness and see whether the mind is being distracted to external objects. So this passage explains the actual quality of the mind that is being cultivated and what needs to be done in the actual session itself. So what is being sought is that in the cultivation of tranquil abiding, shamatha, one needs to ensure that the two primary qualities of the mind are present there. One is a focus, a sustained focus on the chosen object, so that when you engage in the meditation practice, there is no forgetfulness. So the chosen object of the meditation is sustained. So the attention is maintained on that, and there is also a settledness of that focus on that chosen object, so that one is not distracted and loses the object that one has chosen. And the second quality that is necessary is that not only settledness is important, but also subjectively on the part of the experience, there needs to be an alertness, so that it's not a kind of a low feeling, kind of a sunk state of mind, but there is a kind of a certain vibrancy and also kind of a alertness on the part of the subjective experience, a kind of a clarity, subjective clarity. So in order to ensure the presence of these two qualities, one needs to monitor whether or not the obstacles arises in one's mind. And although there are obstacles such as mental scattering, which is a more gross form of just totally being distracted, but there is also a subtler form of distraction, which is referred to as mental excitation. And mental excitation refers to an kind of some expression of an attachment, and generally it tends to focus on things that otherwise would normally give rise to attachment and clinging. So mental excitation, so one needs to ensure that mental excitation doesn't arise in one's mind. And similarly, even though there is no distraction present, and one may have retained the focus on the chosen object, but sometimes it so happens that the quality of that mind may be very lowly sunk, and there is no kind of vibrancy, there is no freshness and subjective clarity. So in that time, one has sunk into mental laxity. So the problem of mental laxity has arisen. So one needs to counter that, so that there is freshness and a subjective clarity on the part of the experience itself. So when these two principal obstacles arises, one needs to apply the appropriate antidotes. And the appropriate antidotes against the arising of mental excitation is to engage in some form of contemplation that would help reduce the kind of the state of mind to a more dampened state, because the reason why mental excitation arises is that your state of mind is too uplifted, and there is kind of a too much vigilance, or over-vigilance, excessive vigilance, and so one needs to find a way of slightly dampening down that, so that the mind is brought to a more downcast state. And the way in which this can be done is to reflect upon impermanence and reflect upon the sufferings of the samsaric existence, or even more evident pain, sufferings, and so on. So in this way, and these kind of contemplations will immediately have the effect of slightly withdrawing the mind within and having this dampening effect. And similarly, the reason why mental laxity arises is because the state of mind is too downcast and too lowly sunk. So the counter measure to this is to try to find a way of uplifting that mind, bringing that mind to a more uplifted state. And the way to do this is to then contemplate upon certain facts that would instill in you a sense of joy, such as reflecting upon preciousness of human existence and so on. And contemplate upon facts which may bring in you a sense of joy, so that what was previously a more downcast state of mind is brought up to a slightly more uplifted state of mind. So it is in this way one needs to apply the appropriate antidotes against these two obstacles, and also primarily relating these to one's own personal experiences, one's own personal experience, and finding the right balance.
대달 건배 림베기니 진국이 꽤 매버진 선배게 산이 지미대가야 당시 싸워 말듯이야 근데 되도나 아니야 그 가서 그래 진국이 년부 때는 경이 버리 다 진국이 년부 매점 봐 도시 당뇨 세야 되네 다도 세는 고민도 아니 갈래야 제 요즘 난게네 봐 전에 아니 신장 개야 지다 들어드는다 신장 대화기네 어다 뒤다 대화가 때문에 내가 차이는서네 아니 신장 가서 신장 때문에 내는서네 아니 신의 조이
So as explained before, judging by your own personal experience, one needs to find the right balance to ensure that one's meditative state does not fall into either of the two faults of mental excitation or mental laxity, and try to cultivate a state of mind where one is able to maintain one's focus with a settledness on a chosen object of meditation, while retaining this qualitative alertness and subjective clarity, so once you are able to maintain that balanced state of mind, then in such states, then trying to exert an application of vigilance or mindfulness would be inappropriate. Therefore, once you have reached that kind of balanced state, then one needs to maintain equanimity instead of using exertion. So it is in this way one applies equanimity and abides in that state, and progressively this would lead to a kind of overcoming of natural inertia that is related to one's body and mind, and gradually leading to physical and mental suppleness or pliancy, which also give rise to an experience of bliss. And when that bliss derived from a physical and mental suppleness or pliancy one is able to maintain that blissful state for a prolonged period of time, at that point one would have attained shamatha or tranquil abiding.
And the Congress chingwa government member do mi bo zhe le sim na du zu bu tong de ji zhuo le le dang yong su cha xin de ji qi shi de ji pa dong du bu zhao de da xin ne kong bu che ba de lu de sim xin du zhang bu de wo dang qi zi de ba shi mi guo le sim rang wang de ba de ji de xin ne zhu yi ba zhi bu zhao.
So then we read from the page 119 of the English text, when Kamalashila writes, "In this process, distraction should be eliminated with a rope of mindfulness and alertness." Okay, And when you find that the mind is free of mental laxity and mental excitation, that is naturally abides on the object, you should relax your effort and maintain neutral as long as it continues thus. And then further we read on page 120, he writes, you should understand that calm abiding or tranquil abiding is actualized when you enjoy physical and mental pliancy through prolonged familiarity with the meditation, and the mind gains the power to engage the object as it chooses. So now let us return to Shantideva's text.
다도 비치 모두 소리잖아. 다 류자 semni 웬바이 나버리 영화 미중모 선생. 다 송샤 되기 아다 이게 tumbe yu는 내가 사 신의 주베 다네 다 디고 송기야래 아다 내 웬바된 거래 사디 송기야래 다 더바 중시 차셔봐 사기 그 tun지지게 봐다 디나로라 이 더발레다 바가소래 웬바치야 다 데베 니미상 지 류다바다 지 년다바다 다 앞에는 직분다바다 대전다바디 다바 가서 이 수도야지 다 전달라 디도 왔습니다.
So then we read in stanza 2 of Shantideva's chapter 8, which is on page 89. So we read, with bodily and mental solitude or seclusion, distractions do not arise. Therefore, upon renouncing the world, one should renounce discursive thoughts or conceptualization.
So, somebody 착배치다 니에서라 세벤치데 무군데 대원데다 용봉라 캐벤데다 잡아차스.
So here Shantideva is referring to the prerequisites that are necessary for cultivating a tranquil abiding, which we talked about, which was mentioned in Kamalashila's text, these being seeking solitude, a physical environment that is solitary, and also solitude at the mental level in the form of absence of distractions. And then the second prerequisite that Kamalashila listed was that one should have kind of a modest desires and be easily contented. So here Shantideva is referring to this when he says, thereupon renouncing the world, one should renounce conceptualization, because here for single-pointed for meditation on tranquil abiding, as a prerequisite, one needs to deal with excessive attachment. So the attachment may be towards one's own body, towards one's friends and relatives, or towards sexual experience and so on. So these, one needs to find a way of at least reducing attachment to these forms of desire, so that one's mind will be kind of less distracted. And then we read... Sorry, and then therefore in stanza 3 we read, on account of attachment and craving for gain and the like, one does not renounce the world. Thus, upon forsaking them, the wise should contemplate in this way. So then he explains how to counter excessive attachment to the objects of desire in the subsequent stanzas. So then we move to stanza 85.
대사는 덜라 쫓아대 웬발라니 가와기 저저 용어 기 동바 시외 나지 나나도 다야 웬배 연절 송니 되는 쇼데 쇼로가 주착제 라완 저지 참면라 강다양네 데메라 초시 대주 강이 뭐 옹부전 되니까 텔러소가 남바이 웬배 연절 삼천에 남도 녀를 시워도 전주선의 공부를 차.
So in stanza 85, we read, fearing sensual desires in this way, one should generate delight in solitude and in deserted woodlands, devoid of strife and annoyances. And then he goes on to explain actually the benefits of seeking solitude. And then we read in stanza 88, living as one wishes, homeless and not tied down by anyone, one savors the joy of contentment, which is difficult even for a king to find. And he says that after meditating on the advantages of solitude in this and other ways, having one's conceptualizations calmed, one should cultivate awakening mind.
Oh yeah, that is Shasha.
So we will stop here.
Niyandaya mi dona gombo jere ziwangi seje gebe jangara kanji shi yozo njaje myola magan Deza ningde nyodo java zo nando junye zambe dende da jozo doje doda dende Dende da jange dembe mena ngeme nyoro jo melama lobe gebe demba la gube na jozo jezo me de zamjo ngeme jogwa malu jozo dembe tene jojo ji.
Good night. Thank you.